this might be a hot take. We did watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory recently. We watched it a few months ago on Discord. I think that Timothée Chalamet's performance, for me, I like it better than Gene Wilder's. And I know that's going to be crazy to say, but I've seen them both recently. I've seen them both this year, and I really enjoyed Chalamet's interpretation of the character.
Paul King's Wonka is magical, whimsical, and led by the marvelous Timothée Chalamet in a prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Guess what? Wonka Origins was actually awesome.
I can't believe they pulled it off, to be honest.
I was shocked. I walked into it with modest expectations. They weren't really marketing it being a musical. It was so charming. It was delightful. It was a lot of fun. It was exciting. It was creative. It was very fresh. And overall, when I walked out of the theater, and even while I was watching it, I was like, this is a movie that's like, it's just about kindness. It's about positivity, and it's about joy and love. And I feel like we don't really get movies like that often.
Done well.
And it's just really refreshing to get that and to, escape from, like, I love super intense movies. I love scary movies, and I love messed up movies. But a lot of movies are like that nowadays. And I think it's just really nice to escape and do something that's just completely light and airy and just really sweet. And for me, it hit like that, I had a sweet tooth for it, and I was just like blown away by how delightful the entire film was.
It's a movie that makes you smile from ear to ear, start to finish, and also got me a few tears out of my eyes.
I cried, yeah.
At the end of the movie. It's sensational, and we kind of make fun of the prequels and the reboots and the legacy sequels and the remakes and the origin stories on this show a lot because we're inundated with them in Hollywood. However, I was blown away. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect.
You're like, they did it. They pulled it off.
I didn't love the first trailer. I thought it was mediocre, and like you said, they didn't showcase much of the singing and dancing and musical numbers because those are the most exciting parts of this movie. When you watch the trailer, it's sort of just when Willy arrives to this unnamed European city, and it's very bland kind of looking. We didn't get any of the fantastical set pieces that are in a couple here and there, but in that first trailer, we didn't get the fantastical set pieces that we see in the movie. And I'm always skeptical of a prequel of a famous character that's been done multiple times. Obviously, we have Gene Wilder in 1971 with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and then Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in 2005. And then the third iteration of the character, and what's interesting is no one's done sequels before, so I can actually see this being a sequel. And everyone's like, oh, great, another remake, another prequel to a character we know and love. And I gotta say, Timothée Chalamet delivered, and he's sensational. He created Willy Wonka as his own, a different kind of humor compared to Johnny's and Gene's interpretation of the character, as well as Paul King's great humor as a director. I mean, having done the Paddington movies, and this, he's sensational. He's hilarious. But I think what Timothée Chalamet did, it proved his star power because obviously he's a leading Dune. Obviously, he's an Oscar-nominated actor. He's been in some really terrific projects, Call Me By Your Name, working with incredible directors. But I think something like this was really important for him to deliver on a performance like Willy Wonka, completely out of the norm of what he's been doing a musical as the biggest star in the world right now, and nailing it. And it's so fun, and it's a hit right now. It premiered and got released in Europe before North America. North America, it's having its release this past weekend. It's opening up to a projected about $40 to $50 million. We'll find out this week, but we're recording this on, what day is it? Friday. We just saw it yesterday. But it already hit $43 million in Europe, which is pretty incredible on a budget of $125. So it'll hopefully pass about $150 million, $200 million after its first week and a half in theaters, which is sensational to see. IMDb is a 7.4. Rotten Tomatoes, 84% critic score, 88% audience score. Written by Paul King and Simon Farnaby, based on the novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. Now, Wonka, I wrote this synopsis myself. I'm pretty proud of it.
Well, let's hear it.
A young, naive, and penniless Willy Wonka arrives in a European city with his lifelong goal to share chocolates with the world. Willy finds himself in immediate trouble when the local chocolatiers and their chocolate cartel use their corrupt powers to try and take him down. Willy also gets duped by a local laundry owner into a 10-year contract of indentured servitude in the basement of the establishment. With the help of the others trapped in the laundromat's contract, Willy concocts a plan to free them of their contracts, take down the chocolate cartel, and share his chocolates with the world.
And the cast is fantastic. We get, obviously, Timothée Chalamet, who I agree, floored me. He was so charming, so funny. Singing was great, too. He has the lungs for it, and he pulled out the songs really well. But he had this, there's a sweetness to his Willy that you didn't really see too much in the other ones. Obviously, you see that for sure. But with the other two Willy Wonka performances, there's kind of like, there's like an apathy for like the suffering of others or like the endangerment of children.
Gene's watched someone drown.
There's like that apathy towards that.
Cynicism.
Yeah, and there's a bit of like that to that character, which makes it such a really interesting performance.
Like a menace to society kind of guy.
Yeah. However, Timothy went the opposite route where he is impossibly kind. And he says a line where he's always relied on the kindness of strangers. And so he's just open to people and very expressive, and he's just oozes positivity and goodness and morality. And I really like this interpretation of just an impossibly, endlessly decent human being as Willy Wonka, and it worked really well. And then we have Tom Davis as Bleacher, who's a great henchman character. Olivia Colman with the fake teeth was great as Mrs. Scrubbit. Mrs. Scrubbit.
Them two were terrific.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
So they run the laundromat, Scrubbit, and Bleacher.
Yeah.
And Olivia Colman and Tom Davis look like they're having the most fun they've ever had in a role.
Yeah, they crushed it. And then Kala Lane as Noodle. I'd never seen her in anything before, and she was really fantastic. Patterson Joseph as the main antagonist, Slugworth, was really great.
He stole every scene he was in.
amazing.
He's one of the best performances in this movie. He killed it.
I wasn't expecting it to have that great of a villain because I didn't like the villain posters, the character posters.
I didn't like the posters in general.
Yeah, but the villain characters, they had the deep shadows behind them.
Yeah.
In the underlit. They were underlit to make them look menacing. And I was like, oh, this looks so cheesy, but...
For a kid's perspective, it probably worked really well.
Yeah, for sure. But Patterson Joseph as Slugworth was really dynamic and fantastic. And like you said, he stole every scene he was in. His accent was really funny. Matt Lucas was Prodnose. He's hilarious. Keegan-Michael Key was laugh out loud funny in this. He was amazing.
Chief of police. He's
so
hysterical.
Great. And then Jim Carter as Abacus Crunch. And then Rocky Takar as Lottie Bell, rounding out the cast. Everybody was really fantastic.
You're missing someone huge.
Hugh Grant as the Oompa-Loompa was wonderful.
You're missing someone else huge. Rowan Atkinson
as
the corrupt cleric.
When he showed up, we were dying.
I don't like Rowan Atkinson.
We were dying. I didn't even know he was in it. But I will say, I think that they made a big mistake. Obviously, the movie's going to be successful, but a lot of people, after I gave it a 4.5-star rating on Letterboxd.
That's what I give it too.
I loved it. I loved it. And we were talking about it for weeks leading up to it, especially a couple months ago when they dropped the first trailer. And I found the marketing to just be very strange now in retrospect, because when I saw the trailers, I was like, is that all the movie is? I thought it was going to, because I love Paul King, and I was like, I was expecting more. And I kept saying, especially with the first trailer drop, we both were like, that's it. Like, we were expecting a lot more from this.
I was like, where's the flair? Where's the color?
Yeah,
where's the
exactly.
magic? Where's Willy Wonka's magic?
And then we talked about recently about how the studios have been hiding the musical numbers from their movies that are musicals in their trailers. So they haven't been showing any of the songs and dancing for Mean Girls, Wonka, or The Color Purple. And I know the movie's going to do well, but there's a lot of people who have been DMing us ever since we saw the film, being like, oh, is it really that good? Like, a lot of people had the same sentiment as us.
They're surprised that it's good.
Yeah, because the marketing in the trailers didn't do a good job of showcasing what the movie was. And in retrospect, the most incredible parts of the movie, my favorite parts of the movie, the most visually stunning and creative and wonderful parts of the film are musical numbers. And if I had seen those in the trailer, I would have been ecstatic to see this film. I would have been like dying to see it. We only saw it because we're like, let's give it a chance. We love Paul King. He made Paddington 2, the greatest film of all time. so like he knows what he's doing, and also Chalamet's doing such a great job with his career choices. He only makes good choices. So I was like, let's give it a shot. And so my expectations are pretty low for it because of the marketing. But then when you watch this film, you're like, there is so much amazing imagery in the movie that we never even saw.
But what if also, I'm just thinking about this now, what if they didn't want to show their whole hand? What if they wanted to hide some of that magic and depend on word of mouth for marketing? They did some cool things with their marketing where they had Xbox One, they had a Willy Wonka chocolate edition, and as well as they sent a bunch of people chocolate edible controllers and like a chocolate Xbox controller.
Did you see the 3D billboard they made in New York City?
Oh no.
So it's like that holographic 3D billboard technology they have now.
Yeah.
So it's Chalamet as Wonka, and it breaks open like a chocolate package, and he bursts out of it, and then he tips his hat to the crowd, and it looks like he's really like leaning forward into Times Square.
That's really incredible.
Check it out online. It's an amazing little billboard they made.
Yeah, so the marketing campaign, it's sort of one of those things. Did they do a good job? Did they not do a good job? It seems like it might pay off because it did so well overseas in its early release a week ago, and then the North America is going to have a very solid showing as well. So I predict it's going to hit $200 million in the first 2 weeks, which is excellent for a budget of $125. This is also a heyday production. David Heyman, he has been making excellent producer decisions since leaving Harry Potter, obviously. He's been making some cool movies.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
yeah,
baby.
hell yeah. So I when I saw his production company come up at the opening of the movie, oh, no way, it's a heyday production. That's why I think the magic works so well. Plus, Paul King's such a terrific director.
He's the most untalked about producer in Hollywood.
He might be.
He's amazing.
Because he's just so successful, and I like how his art's first. His movies come first versus him in a lot of ways. But I mean, I guess when you're just strictly a producer and not a director, really Kevin Feige's one of the really...
Brian Glazer's a well-known producer.
Not for, I think, our generation.
Not for our generation,
You know
but
what I mean?
in the 80s and 90s, he was super famous.
When you think of right now, people think, oh, just a producer. They kind of can only come up with Kevin Feige as just a producer, only not a director, actor, or anything else as well.
I have some fun Letterboxd reviews of Wonka if you want.
I'd love to check these out.
Just a few. So Baron gave it 4 stars and wrote, Timothée Chalamet. I like that one.
Also, what's the Letterboxd rating on this?
Right now, it's actually pretty low with a 3.7, I believe. Let me double check.
3.7 is good.
No, actually, that's not low at all. Yeah, that's good. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
It is 3.5. It is low, I think. 3.5.
Yeah, that's a 7.
I gave it 4.5. I
think
fucking
it's
loved
terrific.
it. I loved it. And then we have another great review is from Rim, R-I-M. Great film, but where was the song about wonking your willy?
God.
Then we have Katie, gave it 4 stars. Hugh Grant's accent implies Oompa-Loompa Land is actually just England.
I know, because they live on this island. He's got an English accent.
That's so funny. And I have one last one from Julia. 4 stars. Okay, you guys, convince me I'll start reading the terms and conditions before agreeing to anything. Parentheses, no, I won't.
The fine print is a big part of the plot in this movie. Now, development for Wonka began all the way back in 2016 with Warner Brothers Pictures acquiring the rights to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for making a film and the character Willy Wonka, created by Roald Dahl. With the film development from producers David Heyman and Michael Siegel in February 2018, it was announced that Paul King was in negotiations to direct, and that's the year that Paddington 2 came out?
Yeah, I believe it was 2018, yeah.
And then that same year, it was reported the studio's shortlist of actors to star as Willy Wonka were Donald Glover, Ryan Gosling, and Ezra Miller. And then it was revealed that the film would also be serve as a prequel to the events of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So if that movie takes place around like the 1960s, the era that the world set in, this one, you could 1920s, 30s, 40s, somewhere around there. In January 2021, it was confirmed by Paul King that he would direct the film, now titled Wonka. It was also reported that Timothée Chalamet and Tom Holland were the front runners for the title role. And in May 2021, Timothée Chalamet was cast, and also was announced the film would include several musical numbers. And he was essentially, Paul King said, was his only choice for playing Willy Wonka, especially after watching his high school performances as his rap alter ego. What's his rapper alter ego? It's something Timmy or something Tim, which proved his vocal and dancing skills. So
I think Tom Holland would have done very good, but after watching the film, Chalamet, I think, was a really kind of like the only choice for Hollywood actors of that age to really pull it off perfectly, because he did. And I think
Little Timmy Tim.
Because Tom Holland would have been great, but Timothée Chalamet was really perfect, really fantastic.
Yeah, and there's so much about this movie that I really loved and enjoyed that makes it different from the other Willy Wonka movies. I think having an unnamed European city was very strong for the story because we weren't focused too much on where we are. This is just a magical world that's sort of been invented, and it allowed everybody to kind of do their own natural accents. So we have American accents.
It was very Wes Anderson.
Yeah, so American accents, we have British accents, as well as Keegan-Michael Key does a hysterical, like, city Bronx accent, like, out of nowhere. It's just so goddamn fun. So I think that was one of my favorite parts, where it's just an unnamed European city, and everyone got to have fun and not take it too seriously when it comes to why don't they all sound exactly the same.
That's a great point, because Wes Anderson, when he makes his films, he actually prefers for actors to just use their own natural accents in his movies. And so everybody speaks with their own normal accent. And they did the same thing with this film, and it worked. In the unnamed city, it felt like it was Europe, but it also felt like it could have been America in a certain time, but like a different city in America that maybe we don't know. Because it felt like that. First of all, the set design was amazing. They definitely built that huge city set. And because they filmed so much there, they probably built that entire thing, because so much of the film takes place in that outdoor area. It was very reminiscent of, that mall in Milan?
Yeah.
The famous shopping mall? That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, well, that's why I would say it's not American at all.
Yeah.
The architecture is too old for it to be American in that style, so it's definitely an unnamed European city.
And I know a lot of people online that the last several months have been like saying like Jeremy Allen White would have been perfect as Wonka.
He just looks like Gene Wilder.
Yeah, he just looks like Gene Wilder. I don't think that's a reason for wanting to cast him, because you're not casting an adaptation of Gene Wilder's life.
Yeah.
You're casting a Wonka adaptation.
It's a reinvention of the character. Yeah. That's what it is.
So I don't think that I think that would have been the wrong direction, to try and cast someone who looked like Wilder, and really just going with who's the best overall actor for this role, and Chalamet was perfect.
And Chalamet, he's a terrific singer and dancer, and what I love about his singing is he's not the greatest singer alive.
He's not showy.
He's just very good. He's very solid and really enjoyable to listen to. And composer Joby Talbot did a terrific job composing new music, as well as harkening back to the original with some of the old songs, some of the old themes. It was really special. It opens up with one of the old themes. And Willy Wonka, I like how he's less of a menace to society, because this is a reinterpretation, reinvention of the character, similar to how Netflix bought the entire work of Roald Dahl. They own the rights basically to his work.
Wow.
So, but it's his books.
Oh, hence like the recent adaptations by Wes Anderson on Netflix?
Yeah, exactly. But also they own the rights to all of his fiction and all of his writing. Okay. So they actually did an entire they've been rewriting all of his books, and they had Penguin Publishing, aka Puffins for Kids. They released all new versions of Roald Dahl's books.
It's called Puffins for kids books? That's really cute.
The kids.
I didn't know that.
The kids division.
That's adorable.
Puffins.
Oh my God.
And there's a lot of controversy about that, because they essentially rewrote a lot of the books.
When you say rewrite, are they changing it at all?
Changing the wording.
Really?
Because they want to take things that they find offensive or don't age well or haven't aged well from when Roald Dahl originally wrote the works. So a lot of the books are actually written quite differently, and so, but that's the way I interpret the books are being rewritten, which is a debatable thing. I mean, but you can disagree with it or agree with it. At the end of the day, Netflix owns it, so they can essentially do whatever the hell they want, and they just want to capitalize on an IP and never stop making money off of it. So, but I look at Timmy's Willy Wonka and this movie Wonka as a reinvention of the character, not a prequel to exactly Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka, unless you see he falls on hard times emotionally, and that's why he becomes so cynical by the time he has his factory and he's acquired his wealth. But I see it as just a new version of the character, like we got new versions of the books in 2022.
I completely agree. I don't think this has anything to do in relation to the other adaptations, because Tim Burton's was very much its own thing too. It was a completely new take on it, although it did have some of those same qualities as Wilder's. But I look at this as, I don't see this, it looks like they're setting up a franchise, the way it ends. And they did a good job. And so I expect them to make maybe 3 movies out of this new franchise. I don't see it in any way they'll try to connect it to the Wilder film.
No.
I think they'll make it wholly its own thing. And it's better for that. You don't want that. You want something new. You want something fresh. And Paul King was a great voice for this IP, because the Paddington movies are just so cute. They're so sweet. They're so endearing. And they're just a lot of fun. And I was getting you to watch Paddington 2 for months.
I loved it.
For months. And then you finally put it on, and you were like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Maybe the hardest I've laughed in the last year was the sequence when he's washing the windows.
The opening,
going up and down in the bucket. I was dying. That movie's so hysterical. Cute. They're so well made, too. And it's so cool to see what Paul King does with an even bigger budget and a bigger star with Timothée Chalamet. And,
Paddington's a big star, man. don't sleep on Paddington. Everyone loves him.
But also just taking analyzing a beloved IP and a beloved character, Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Everyone's going to be analyzing the hell out of this movie, and they are, because, it's so loved. So everyone wants to make sure that it's done right. And obviously, this movie's going to have people that dislike it because they want the Gene Wilder version of the character. But I think the world can exist with all the interpretations of the character. And I think Timothée brought something completely new. He brought so much charisma and likability and charm and just sweetness and silliness to the character. And he's a funny guy. He's had a few roles where he can flex his comedic chops here and there. I would say the most he's been able to do comedy.
SNL.
Exactly.
That's
SNL.
pretty much,
And he's always great on SNL. Aside from that, I guess, what's the political movie he was in?
Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up.
Yeah,
he's funny in that.
Yeah.
But he's
Fucking love Finger Like Potatoes.
Finger like potatoes. It's the only funny part of the movie.
It is.
But Timothy's got so much range because I've always wanted to see him do a whole movie based off comedy and a whimsical character because he's so good at it. And I seldom watch SNL, but I'll watch it when Timmy's hosting or like when Adam Driver's hosting, I'll watch SNL. I think them two are great at comedy, which is sort of out of their norm for genres when they're making movies.
Ironically, Adam Driver came from comedy with Girls, but this might be a hot take. We did watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory recently. We watched it a few months ago on Discord.
Yeah.
I think that Timothée Chalamet's performance, for me, I like it better than Gene Wilder's. And I know it's going to be crazy to say, but I've seen them both recently. I've seen them both this year, and I really enjoyed Chalamet's interpretation of the character.
Is it because Timmy's just so cool and he's the it guy right now?
No, that's probably your reason. You're the reason why every time I open up Instagram,
he's so hot, right?
It's just
it's because he's so hot, right?
It's because he's all over our Discover page because of you.
That's not true at all.
No, but I think
it's probably true.
I think maybe I think I was craving, something sweet because Barbie hit that sweet spot in the summer. But Barbie did have quite a lot. And it did a good job of critiquing culture. So there was a serious side to Barbie. You know what I mean? And there was a really deep discussion about the world through Barbie. So you know what I mean? So it wasn't completely light and airy for the whole time. Especially after the first act of Barbie, it turned into a different movie. And so I think I've been craving a movie like this where, it's light and airy. And it's just nothing but kindness. It's not trying to say anything. It's not trying to critique anything. It's just trying to be a fun, joyous occasion for families to go see a movie. And I think this is the perfect holiday film for families. If I had a family, I would be going to Wonka. And I would recommend Wonka for anyone who has kids and you want to go to the movies this Christmas season. Go to see Wonka because everybody will enjoy it.
And I also feel like so many of these big studio pictures these days, especially if it's even something G rated or a kids movie or a family movie, they have a lot that they're trying to tell you in terms of opinions.
Yeah.
This one, really, it's subtle and it's easy and we all get it. Everyone's equal, but we have the wealthy and then we have the poor.
We have the hierarchy.
It's something that everyone can understand. It's not shoved down your face every scene. It's brought up here and there. And overall, the storytelling does give that message across. And I think that that's one of the strengths of the movie where it's not overly, this is what this movie's about. This is what this movie's about every goddamn scene.
Yeah.
And it's just more about telling a great story. But we used to get great studio movies like this when we were kids. Great fantasy films, science fiction films that had great heartfelt messages, incredible acting. The production design is sensational. So many huge practical sets. Of course, there's some CGI in here with the magical chocolate, but a surprising amount of this is practical. I was blown away. Not just big set pieces, but even little pieces of chocolate, like the little lightning chocolate. It was incredible. It was so beautiful. And they had a chocolatier on set. And Paul King, the director, says he might be being a little
facetious.
A little bit. He said he gained 50 pounds on set while eating all the chocolate.
I would. Eating chocolate for 4 months straight?
I know, maybe more.
I gained 10 pounds this past holiday season already.
Because he said to quote him, we had this incredible chocolatier. She made these incredible concoctions, and we would taste them. They tasted much better than they needed to, because obviously actors are good at pretending things. But the miracle was they tasted every bit as good as they looked.
And you're absolutely right. There's some CGI, but there's so much practical filmmaking in this. And some of my favorite sets, so we mentioned that big outdoor city set, which is really extravagant. and massive, and they did so much of the film there. It just looked stunning.
Now, a couple of the musical numbers took place there. They're
Exactly.
awesome.
Wonka's shop, when they opened it, like most of that was just done for real, and it just looked marvelous. Even the cotton candy treetop clouds were real.
Yeah,
the only
tree was real.
Yeah, that was all real, and there's actually some Chalamet posted a behind the scenes sizzle reel that a friend of his must have filmed with Super 8. And it's like he was really bouncing on these clouds, on these cotton candy clouds.
You can tell he's just sitting on a cotton candy cloud flying 20 feet in the air.
And then one of my favorites, probably my favorite set, was the glowing rooftop when he and Noodle are floating with the balloons and they land on top of that beautiful glass ceiling of that building. And it's like the same kind of glass ceiling. Remember?
And Ethan Hunt lands on it.
Yeah, exactly. In Fallout. It's so reminiscent.
I was like waiting for Ethan to fall with the parachute.
Very reminiscent of that. But they built that. It wasn't just them standing on a big green screen platform. They'd CGI it. It's the actors were really on that, and that was such a beautiful sequence. That entire sequence with the assortment of balloons, and they're floating, and they're gliding, and they're spinning around the pointed tip of that building, and the beautiful warm light from the interior of that building pouring up through the windows. I was just like, during that sequence, I was like, where was this in the trailer?
No, exactly.
Where the fuck was this in the trailer?
Plus the massive church that was used.
Yeah.
And the interiors and the locations in this movie are
fucking
sensational.
phone ring.
Rowan Atkinson, it was such a great little cameo, and he's so funny, and he plays the corrupt cleric. And I kind of wanted to set up the world because I think it's so fun, where we have, obviously, Willy Wonka comes to this unnamed European city. He wants to sell his chocolates, and he gets there. He gets kicked out of the Galleria, the gourmet gallery, for trying to sell his chocolates on the streets. And the other chocolatiers tell him, it's the worst chocolate I've ever had. Oh, thank you for the endorsement. Wait, it's the worst chocolate. It's very funny. And then Willy, he basically has to find a room to sleep, and he finds this little laundromat, and he obviously depends on the kindness of strangers. Tom Davis is amazing in this movie. I think this is really his big coming out party. He's on Paddington too. Mm-hmm. He plays one of the prisoners. He's the big guy.
He's actually a British comedian.
Yeah, he's on a BBC comedy. That's where he got his big break. But this, I think, is his big coming out party. He's starring with Olivia Colman in 7 or 8 scenes, which is terrific. And he gets duped because he's illiterate in this movie, Willy Wonka, which is really funny. He's like, I devoted all my studies specifically to chocolate. So he can't read, and he doesn't read the final print on this contract, gets trapped in this 10 years of indentured servitude in the basement of Scrubbits and Bleacher. And then eventually we have these antagonists, like I said, these chocolatiers at the Gallery Gourmet. We have Mr. Slugworth, Mr. Prodnose, and Mr. Fickelgruber. And they're all kind of working with Scrubbit and Bleacher to keep Willy Wonka there because they know his chocolate's too damn good. And like Andy said, Patterson Joseph is just tremendous in this movie.
He's great.
Slugworth is sort of the leader. And I love this world where chocolate is kind of a currency. And chocolate's so sought after and desired that they bribe the chief of police with chocolate to carry out their dirty business. It's so goddamn funny. And also, this entire world in the city is built on a corruption of chocolate, where there's a secret layer underneath the parish, the church, of 5,000 gallons of chocolate. The chocolatiers have been diluting their chocolate and been saving the good chocolate in their underground vault of chocolate that's underneath the parish. Rowan Atkinson is the corrupt cleric with his 50 chocoholic monks who guard it.
And their robes are chocolate covered.
And yeah, chocolate is more valuable than money in this movie. And it's a great setup because how do you get Willy Wonka into trouble immediately, get him stuck in this laundromat with these other people? He creates this team. They sort of break out eventually, and they concoct this plan to take down the chocolatiers. But it gives great conflict to our character who's trying to achieve these massive goals. But we have multiple antagonists with the chocolatiers, and then chief of police with Keegan-Michael Key. So we have great opposing forces trying to stop Willy Wonka's magic. And it's a really good plot, I think. And it's so fun and inventive and imaginative, and it's just so creative. Let's just make it an unnamed city. Chocolate is underneath the parish. It's a secret, corrupt system. And it's a great sort of satire on the world, this movie, in terms of corruption and of elitism and the wealthy. It's something that parents can really understand and take away from the story just as much as kids can.
Not just corruption, but monopolies.
Yeah.
In capitalistic in economies. And so monopolies like a handful of businesses just taking advantage and taking control of the market, of whatever market it is. And so the 3 chocolatiers, they push out anyone who could be a rival. And that's what sets up Willy's conflict, and so that the idea of a monopoly in an industry is actually a permeating theme throughout the entire film.
And I love how magic exists. Willy's chocolate is magical. It can make you float. It can give you wonderful ideas. It can make you drunk. It can make you regretful. Yeah. I love the sequences where he gets people. He has the special chocolate where it's like a night out where you're having fun, you're laughing, you're dancing, and then you have here's where the whiskey kicks in, and you're just regretting you make a bad decision. Then this is the stout to end the night, and then they fall asleep. It's so goddamn funny.
Pork in the back room.
Yeah,
and then passed out.
And so he does it to the guards for both the zoo and for the underground.
I love when they call the person they love.
And they're the same person.
No, I shouldn't call. I'm going to call her.
Oh, and this is when he does something reckless. So
oh my
goddamn
God,
fun.
I love that.
But I love the idea of magic existing. There's that extent, obviously, in the other Willy Wonka movies, and even the Gene Wilder one. There's magic to the chocolate. It makes you float with the bubbles and everything. But I think there's something a little more magical about this one specifically.
But then we also got a couple of great nods to the original. And my favorite nod is that the Oompa-Loompa, Wonka does it in Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Gene Wilder takes a sip from that cup, and then he bites the cup. And Oompa-Loompa did the exact same thing with the same kind of cup in this movie. And I was like, that's a nod to the original.
And also the recorder, the flute plays.
Yes.
The theme to the Oompa-Loompas. And the two songs that they really reference in are sort of throwbacks to the original. Pure Imagination. Mm-hmm. So we have twice, we get the theme of that with the opening of the movie with Willy arriving on the ship in the opening credits, obviously. But then we have the great song that he sings with Noodle of Pure Imagination. I believe that starts when they're at the zoo with the giraffe. Mm-hmm. The Pure Nate, come with me and you'll see. It's really special when you hear the theme. It's just so magical, and just that's what brings the nostalgia out of it, is just immediately hearing the song. Then the Oompa-Loompa song is great as well, and Hugh Grant as the Oompa-Loompa was terrific. Hugh Grant is honestly my spirit animal. I love his sarcasm, his sardonic sense of humor. He's just so witty but wise, and sometimes you can't tell if he's pissed off or he's just joking around. But I think that's why he's perfect as the Oompa-Loompa. And his performance is entirely motion capture. And so he was just creative with CGI.
It looks really good.
They did a really solid job. And he only actually worked with Timmy on set one day as an experiment. They created sort of a mocap tent that Hugh Grant went inside of, off the side of the set while Timmy was being shot on camera, and he was inside the tent, Hugh Grant, and they did a couple scenes like that, but this just didn't end up working for the shoot or in general, so they just did the whole thing motion capture, and Hugh Grant was really only on set for one day.
I loved how like they made it seem like Willy was making up the Oompa-Loompa, and that maybe he was imagining it all.
The little orange man.
When he kept trying to explain the Oompa-Loompa man to people, because at this point the Oompa-Loompa was just stealing from him every few nights. And it's just like, you don't believe me, do you? It's like, that sounds crazy. An orange man with green hair. And then he catches
little orange
him.
man.
And then he finally catches him. And then when they both see him, when they're about to drown, they see him through the glass. And she's like, little orange man. That was great. It's so funny.
It's really terrific stuff. It's so goddamn funny. Now, the design of the Oompa-Loompa is obviously taken straight out of the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory film from 1971, the first adaptation of the novel. The original novel was not so specific on descriptions of the Oompa-Loompas, except that they have knee-length height, have long hair, and speak their own language. So it's interesting to see the interpretations of the character.
I think after that first movie, it's just like the public think, if you're going to make Oompa-Loompas and not be orange, it just wouldn't feel right.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why people didn't love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think they changed the Oompa-Loompa design up too much, because I don't think they were
It's
orange,
like
right?
one guy. It was like one guy who they all looked like a clone of him, and he's wearing. I think he has like a mustache or something.
Let me double check.
Remind me.
So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory Oompa-Loompas, they look like. I think you're right. I think
He's got like a red suit, but they're all like a clone of each other.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got a red suit with like headphones.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't like that. Yeah, he was like essentially just a clone of himself.
Yes.
And that was just all the Oompa-Loompas. I get they're trying to do something different. Rather than giving him like orange skin, give him an orangey red suit.
Yeah.
But I think the Oompa-Loompas are so goddamn fun when they're orange and with green hair, because it's magic.
Yeah.
You know, it's these kinds of people
come
that
from
don't exist.
Oompa-land.
Yeah, they're Oompa-Land.
I love the Oompa-Land flashback. It's really funny.
Almost called a Whopper.
Now, I want to get into our superlatives in intermission before we talk more about Wonka.
Let's do it. So, who is the MVP of Wonka, Anthony?
Paul King is the MVP. He did a really remarkable job adapting this beloved story and this beloved character in a new, exciting, and creative way. I loved it.
I think the MVP is Timothée Chalamet. This is a really important IPA and a really important role to this movie.
I love IPAs.
IP. And it's a role that, if it's not done right, it's just going to bomb. But I think Timothy added something new, and he created a great character that I think is just going to be remembered by this generation. I think people are going to love it. And I think they'll make 2 or 3 out of this after this movie. So I'm really excited by the performance, and I think that he's really the key to it all working. And, you know, it wouldn't be Wonka without him, I think. Let's move on to...
touching. So sweet.
What's the best scene?
My favorite scene is the opening of Wonka's shop. Opening day, that whole musical number. I love the production design. I love all the candy, and it was so inventive and really, really exciting. And I was just smiling the whole time.
And do you even like when it all goes to crap because the candy gets poisoned by the cartel?
No, yeah, that was great. It was very sad.
Yeah.
But the whole musical number of before all that happened.
I was so excited when it was going on. I'm like, this is amazing. I want to go to this chocolate shop. And you feel so happy for Wonka because he's been working so hard. And we have the backstory of his mother who taught him how to make chocolate. And she's not with him. She passed away. And his life goal is to share chocolate with the world because his mom promised him that when you share your chocolate with everybody, I'll be there next to you. I'll be by your side. And so that's his goal. And he thinks that this is the day my shop is opening. I'll be able to share my chocolate with the world, and I'll be able to be with my mom again. So it's a really emotional scene because everything he's gone through to get this shop open with this team that he develops from the laundromat, and then it just gets ruined by the cartel. The chocolate cartel, man.
It was. I was crying in this movie.
It's the show-stopping scene, though.
Yeah, I was not expecting it. But yeah, it's a great scene.
Really well made. It's great production. It's all goddamn practical. Like even walking up that little mountain hill to the tree, it's all there's behind the scene photos. It's so cool. My favorite scene was the balloon sequence with Noodle. And so this is after they milk the giraffe, right?
Yeah.
And they're singing and dancing.
Abigail, the giraffe.
Abigail the giraffe. And then they're going through the park and they find the balloons and then they start flying with the balloons. And it's really beautiful. And it made me feel so good inside and happy. And I was smiling huge when I was watching this entire sequence. It's got goosebumps, and they're flying and floating in the air above that building and dancing and spinning and with the balloons. It's really special filmmaking, and it was, I think, one of the most touching sequences in the whole movie.
It was really sweet. Yeah. Very sweet.
And because they're building their relationship, where Wonka's like, I'm not gonna let you rot inside that laundromat for the rest of your life. I'm gonna get you out of there, basically. And it's really them trusting each other.
And again, I was like, where was this in the trailer?
So I think the trailer has quick shots of stuff like this, but not enough to understand.
Yeah.
Now, what is the best shot of Wonka, Anthony? This is a tough one because the cinematography is terrific, and it was done by a Park Chan-wook regular whose name is on my Google document.
Oh, he shot Last Night in Soho as well.
Yes, Chung-Hoon Chung. He did film like Last Night in Soho, Uncharted, and It recently for big blockbuster movies.
My favorite shot is actually in the balloon sequence, the wide of them landing on top of the roof, and no, they're spinning up the pole, and so she's above him. He's holding on to her feet before they start doing that imitation dance,
like when they do the kick
yeah.
thing.
But he's holding on to her feet, and she's holding the balloons, and they're like on the tip of the building, and it's a really great wide. It looks perfect. It's great.
I love that scene, man. I really do. My favorite shot was actually something, it wasn't really fantastical. It was, so basically what their plan is to escape the laundromat is Noodle sneaks, she sneaks Willy out in the sack of laundry.
I know what you're going to pick. I know what you're going to pick. We both cracked up during it.
It's great. So he jumps in a bag and he goes down the chute, and then he goes inside the thing that she's pushing, the barrel, basically, the wheelbarrow. And when they make the clear, she opens up the bag. What'd she say? Like, we're in the clear or something, we made it out. He's like, really? And the shot is just like a super big close-up on Timothée Chalamet inside of a bag. It's so
and
funny.
He's so excited.
Yeah, it's really silly. And I don't know why I laughed so hard.
We both cracked up during it.
It was hysterical.
Yeah, it's a really
my
funny
favorite shot in the movie.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's just him in a sack. He's going, really?
And I also like the shot when they're milking the giraffe. He pulled the camera back so that the giraffe's nipples are in the foreground of the frame.
It's funny because it's like an emotional moment for Noodle, but you can see Willy just still just like milking this giraffe, and the milk is just coming down into the bucket, and Noodle's up top like having a moment. It's so funny. Okay, who's the best actor in Wonka?
Chalamet. He did everything. His range is really on full display in this film, whether it be the dancing, singing, the emotional, dramatic parts, and the endless charm and charisma he had with the comedic acting as well.
For my best actor, I actually have a tie.
Oh, really?
Between Patterson Joseph and Olivia Colman. Olivia Colman is insanely good. Yeah. She's terrific in this movie, and Patterson Joseph nails it. So I think they're the two most powerful antagonists in the movie. Obviously, the home life of Willy being trapped in indentured servitude, being controlled by Olivia Colman's character, Mrs. Scrubbit. But then Patterson is Mr. Slugworth is just amazing in this movie. He steals every scene he's in. I think they're both terrific.
Yeah. I loved his hair too. It was great. The whole getup, it was perfect.
They're both just so evil and nefarious.
Paul King just kept going close on her teeth. Yeah. It was great.
She just looked like she had so much fun.
I mean, she didn't win an Oscar for no reason, you know?
She's incredible. What is the best line in Wonka?
He was describing one of his chocolates, and one of the descriptions of the ingredients was salted with the bittersweet tears of a Russian clown. I fucking died. I burst out with a cackle. I was like, what did he just say? It was so funny.
It was a really funny movie. Even just implications of things that were about to happen were just really funny. All right, my favorite line of the movie was Willy's mother, played by Sally Hawkins. Terrific. Obviously, a Paul King regular. She says to Willy, "Every good thing in this world started with a dream, so you hold on to yours."
So sweet.
Hit me hard, man. It really did. Touching stuff. That wraps our superlatives. How about we head into our intermission? But before we continue, I just want to tell you the best way to support the show, Raiders of the Lost Podcast. You can do it by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, which is a subscription-based form of support. Now, why would you want to sign up for Patreon? Because...
yeah, tell me.
You get some kick-ass bonuses, man. You get bonus episodes every week. The weekly chat is exclusively on Patreon only. Plus, we can do a bonus episode every week of the show, of a movie or something. We pick a topic and we'll do it. We have 5 different tiers of membership. As cheap as $2 a month, you get access to those bonus episodes. But also at $5 minimum tier, you get access to the ad-free version of the show. At $10, you get access to our Discord. It's a private community, but it's thriving and flourishing with great film discussions and watch parties and just a good time. Lots of memes. The $25 tier.
Oh, is that a phone alert?
I'm not the one texting during the episode.
I'm not texting. I'm pulling up the unsubscribes.
You're texting me. You just texted me.
I did text you something.
So I'm not texting during the episode, Anthony.
I did text him. I forgot I texted you 30 seconds after I texted you.
Anyways,
it was important text.
$25. You get a custom episode. You pick a topic, we'll do it for you. $100 is the granddaddy package. You get all kinds of things. You become an executive producer on the main episodes. You get your name right at the end. You get a private watch party, all kinds of stuff, free merch. Patreon's the reason we can do the show full time. So thank you so much to everyone who is a patron. There'll be a link in the description of this episode. It's clickable. It's so easy to access. Next way to support the show. We got 3 things to do here, man. Leaving those 5-star reviews and ratings
12 hours later.
On Spotify and Apple. Someone's going to do it. I don't do this when you do your ads, do you? Do I? Never. Don't you want people to leave those 5-star reviews, Anthony?
Of course I do.
It's essential to the show to help us get seen by new listeners, to chart on those platforms. On Apple, you can leave written reviews, which we love to read out on the show. Spotify, you can just leave a 5-star review too. Super helpful. But the most important way to help a show grow, a podcast, is to just share us organically with your friends, family, social media. Word of mouth is the best way for a podcast to grow. So just share it with everybody you know.
Just like how Willy just wants to share his chocolate with the world.
That's right, man.
You're Willy Wonka.
I am Willy Wonka.
The Willy Wonka of podcasting.
Less eccentric.
Jimmy Wonka.
It's a good name.
Of course, our episode is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our coupon code Raiders10 at movieposters.com to get 10% off your order right now. They also do our bi-monthly movie poster giveaway. And Shaquille just won a free poster last week. Congratulations, Shaquille. They chose a great poster for their free. And they're also, Shaquille's a new listener, and they made a comment on our YouTube episode of the Tom Cruise movie draft, and it was their first ever listen to our show, and they won the poster giveaway.
No way.
So I think we got a lifetime listener now.
Hopefully.
That's how we hook you in.
Yeah, you win a poster.
You win a free poster.
You're stuck with us for life.
But movieposters.com is the best place to get your posters, and the holiday season is happening. It's right now. It's the holiday season. If you haven't got a gift for the movie lover in your life, be sure to go to movieposters.com and get them a bunch of movie posters. If I was a movie fan, I am a movie fan.
If you were.
I'm a movie fan.
You watch 7 movies a day.
I'm going to my second movie today in theaters after this.
What are you seeing?
I'm seeing the Zone of Interest tonight.
Okay,
and I
cool.
saw Anatomy of a Fall right before this.
If I was someone who liked movies.
I'm literally doing 40 miles of driving to see movies today. But as a movie fan, I would just really like it if someone got me a movie poster. That would be a really nice gift for Christmas, James.
We have a sponsorship. Just ask movie posters.
I can't just ask movie posters because they're awesome. They have all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting for your poster needs, as well as a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library. Again, head on over to movieposters.com, especially for the holidays, and use our promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order right now.
Let's get into our intermission. You like how I didn't interrupt you? Because that's an ad we get paid for. But
you butted in a couple of times. What are you talking about?
I was welcomed in.
You went in like 3 times while I was talking.
See, I didn't text you. I didn't text you while you were doing your ad.
So I sent you a text because I meant to send it to you today, but I totally forgot. And so I was like, before I forget, I might as well.
Thanks, man.
Because I did a screenshot of it while I was gathering the unsubscribers.
We'll talk about it after.
I saw it.
In the implications of what you sent me and what you've done here today. Let's get into our movie quote competition. All right. Ready?
I'm ready.
Music. A magic beyond all we do here.
That's Dumbledore. He's talking about
music.
What fucking? He's talking about music. I'm sorry. Which movie is it? Say it again.
Music. A magic beyond all we do here.
I'm gonna go with Chamber.
Yeah. Chamber of Secrets, you got it.
Oh yeah, baby! In your face!
What? Relax. That was quite the response. You're acting like I said you can't get this right.
Well, I got it right. That proved you wrong.
You're ridiculous.
All right, here's 2 people talking in this one. My ancestors sent me a little lizard to help me. Hey, dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing.
Say it one more time.
All right, two characters. My ancestors sent me a little lizard to help me. Hey, dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing.
Is that How to Train Your Dragon?
Incorrect.
Sounds really familiar.
You're gonna be like, oh, how did I not get that?
Probably. My ancestors sent me a lizard. My ancestors sent me a lizard.
What movie has like a little dragon as a character?
there's no Spyro movie. That would be cool, though. A little dragon. Sorcerer's Stone. Little dragon.
That can talk as an assistant. Do you want another hint?
Sure.
Animated?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's Mushu in Mulan.
Oh! Yeah, I feel like
now you feel dumb. I basically spelled it out for you, man.
You basically did. All right. Guess this movie release year. 8 Mile. Clarence parents had a real nice marriage.
2002.
2002 is correct.
Oh, yeah, baby.
He's 2 for 2 today, everybody.
Woo!
Take it down a notch, bro.
I'm on fire. I feel like I could spit fire. Have you seen Luna?
I'm crazy about her.
It's about time she know, since we'll both be dead by morning. All right. What year did The Nutty Professor come out?
Oh, that's a good one.
We fucking loved this movie as kids.
Was it turn of the century? What's post 2000 or not?
That is the question. Breaking apart some plastic over there?
Yeah. You know how I do. I should get like one of those.
You need to get something for your hands.
Like, what are those called? The hand squeezing things that you put on desks when people are stressed out.
I don't know what they're called.
But I know
what you're talking
I have restless fingers. I just need to do
No,
something.
you should start knitting while we record.
That's too distracting.
People can knit without even looking.
I have to stay focused.
No, but once you get good at knitting, you don't have to look.
So you want me to take up knitting?
I'm just coming up with some ideas for your fucking endless moving hands.
Of all the... Imagine if I was just knitting.
That'd be funny.
No, but it's noisy.
And then you
It's
get something out of it.
No, but it's like...
knitting's not noisy.
It's the two metal things. It's clanking.
They don't have to be metal. You can make them wood. You can do wood
There'd
needles.
still be some clanking going
There
on.
would be no clanking with wood.
There was.
Wood on wood does not clank.
Sure it does.
If you're bashing it, not just like...
No, there'd be like little tapping. There'll be little taps.
There would be no
It'd
tapping.
It'd sound like this.
There would be no tapping at all. These microphones would not pick that up.
You have to be talking.
These microphones would not pick
It'd
it
just
up.
be like this.
All right, answer the question. No, professor.
1998.
97. Close, but no cigar.
All right. Pop quiz time. Who directed Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Fuck.
From 1971.
Looks like I'm not going to be 3 for 3. Are they well known?
For that era, yeah.
Did they only make comedies mostly?
Yeah, they did some comedies, did some animated movies.
They did some animated movies.
Yeah.
Doesn't help me. I don't know. I responded like, "Oh, that's helpful," but it's not
What
helpful.
was their favorite food? Asparagus? Okay. Thank you.
I don't know.
Mel Stewart.
Thanks for that impossible question.
Listen,
Who the fuck knows who Mel Stewart
it's
is?
an insanely relevant question. We're doing an episode on Willy Wonka.
I didn't say it was irrelevant. I said it was impossible.
Well, I figured maybe you would have looked it up.
I didn't.
Tough titty. Not my problem.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Ready? I did the hair whip.
What's the matter with you? Let him get away! Okay.
Spider-Man.
Eddie Murphy received an Oscar nomination for what film? As an actor.
Oh, what was the one he did like 4 years ago? That was it, I think. Crap, what was it called?
The cook one, where he's a cook?
No, not the cook one. He plays the real guy.
Dolomite?
Yeah, Dolomite is my name.
Incorrect.
Never
You got a
mind.
Golden Globe nomination for that.
Okay. Is it a movie from before 2000?
No.
Is it a movie from after 2000?
It is. Believe it or not. Defies expectations. Nobody saw that coming.
Oscar nom for Eddie Murphy. Huh. I don't know.
Dreamgirls.
Ah, all right.
He played their manager.
Yeah. Forgot about that one. All right, I got some dad trivia.
Let's hear it.
So as some of you know, our dad sent us some entertainment trivia cards, and we've been running through them during the intermission. It's not a promo or anything. It's just he sent us it was a Christmas gift. So let's see if Anthony can get this answer. Here we go. Okay, she played revered fixer Olivia Pope on Scandal.
What's her fucking name? God damn it, I know her name. Just not right now.
Kerry Washington.
Kerry Washington, thank you.
Kerry Washington.
Selena Gomez starred
Selena
at...
Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
Can I say it? Can I say it?
No, I don't think you can.
Selena Gomez starred as Alexa Russo in what magical Disney show?
Fuck, I don't know.
Who did Selena Gomez played?
I have no idea.
What was her Disney show?
I honestly have no idea.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
Okay.
Even I knew that, man.
I didn't. I've never seen that show.
Neither have I, but I know it exists.
I know.
She's
I've
the
heard,
fucking biggest star alive.
I've heard of it, but I just never.
Everybody knows Selena Gomez.
You're ridiculous. Okay. In this holiday classic film, Uncle Billy misplaced $8,000 on his way to the bank.
Come on, repeat it.
In this holiday classic film, Uncle Billy misplaced $8,000 on his way to the bank.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, sir.
Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Okay. A monkey named Boots is this cartoon character's constant companion.
Dora.
Yes.
Dora the Explorer. That's a good one. All right, what else do we have here?
I have a good one right here if you can't find one.
Yeah, go for it.
This big city played a big part in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Say that again?
This big city played a big part in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. What was the city they went to?
Is it Chicago?
It is Chicago.
Nice.
Nice job.
Thanks. Okay. One more. Okay. Fonzie literally jumped a shark on a late season episode on this sitcom.
Oh, what was it called? Oh, we used to watch it. Fuck, what was it called? Hey. What's it called? Oh my God. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. Hold on, give me a second.
It's unfortunate, man. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Happy Days. I was gonna say it without the help.
No, it almost lined up perfectly.
Yeah. Happy Days.
Happy Days, correct.
Happy Days.
3, 4, 5, 6. Happy Days. Saturdays, Sundays, something like that, right?
No, that's not how it ended.
Was that the one Ron Howard was on?
It was.
Yeah, Richie
Cunningham.
Richie Cunningham. Very cool. All right. Do we have any haters or unsubscribes, Anthony? What do we got going on over there?
We got a good one.
Got something
We just
cooking?
recorded yesterday, so we only have one.
Excuses.
But it's a good one. Hey, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying we just did them all yesterday. But Zach Billings wrote in our Tom Cruise movie draft episode, leaving Jack Reacher to pick 12, unsubscribed. And I wrote, it's a sleeper.
I mean, Tom's had a crazy filmography.
I'm surprised I got it that late. I am, because I really like Jack Reacher.
Well, I do too, but I know a lot of people actually don't like Jack Reacher very much, the movies.
We all know you've read the books, Jim.
No comment. Not all of them, only 3.
Jack Reacher is a really solid action movie. It's awesome.
It's cool.
I love it.
It's a good one. All right. What's your streaming recommendation?
Because it's the holiday season, I gotta recommend Gremlins on Max. Great holiday movie.
I just watched it for like the 10th time. I love it
So good.
so much. All right. My streaming recommendation is Little Shop of Horrors on Max.
That's a good
because
one.
it's also musical. And I think you'd enjoy it if you've never seen it before.
That movie's crazy.
Now let's get back into Wonka. And I think when it comes to the characters, I think it's one of the greatest strengths of the movie. And we've been talking about Willy, obviously. We've been talking about Noodle. I would like to talk about Keegan-Michael Key's Chief of Police. Hysterical, great performance. And like I said, he does this sort of city accent from like Queens or the Bronx. And it works really well in this unnamed European city. It just fits. And Keegan's character, the Chief of Police, he's working for the Chocolatiers, and he's roughing people up. He's like the muscle, basically, for the Chocolatiers. And when they discover Willy and his chocolate, they're paying him to kick Willy out of town, basically, to make sure he doesn't sell chocolate on the streets anymore, and to also eventually make sure he has an accident. And by accident, I mean dead at some point. And they pay him with chocolate. Now, the Chief of Police gets paid handsomely in his chocolate. And eventually, by the end of the film, he's a very big guy. And it's got some great moments of humor of him getting bigger and bigger because his second big payment is 1,800 pieces of chocolate. And then by the end of the movie, he can't like even get out of the car.
It's so funny. I was like, I haven't seen that in a movie in a long time.
Yeah.
And he's hysterical. We're huge Key and Peele fans. Huge Key and Peele fans. And so anytime Keegan's in a movie, I'm like, I'm definitely going to see it. 'Cause he's always a highlight of whatever scene he's in. But he also did a really good job with the singing. He's involved in 2 songs, and he did a pretty good job. I was surprised. I didn't know he could sing. But I love him, and he's a great addition to the cast. And, he's this officer he's like a villain, but also he doesn't really want to be doing what he's doing, but he does love chocolate so much. And I love his final payment after thinking he killed Willy Wonka is they drop a huge package of chocolate on top of his car. And it's like 5 times the size of his car. It's so funny.
And then at the end, when the last time he gets out of the car before he gets arrested, he can't even get out. because you can't fit through the door, but also there's wrappers everywhere.
It's a mountain of wrappers.
And, I think a lot of studios, they're afraid to do humor like this. And obviously, some people get offended by it. I think it's a risk worth taking. It's funny when it's done well. And it's not poking fun at, like, larger people. It's basically a critique and a metaphor for corruption. He's just eating chocolate. And what are the consequences of eating 800 pieces of chocolate? You get big. You put on a little extra calories, a little extra fluff. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a funny part of the character. If you eat 2,000 chocolates in a week, you're gonna get pretty big.
And it's like physically showing his corruption.
Exactly.
With the payments, like he's showing how corrupt he is. And I agree. I think that a lot of studios are they're afraid to do that kind of humor. And I don't think that if you're gonna try and do comedy, you shouldn't be afraid. And something like that it hasn't been done in a long time, because people are afraid of the reactions to it and for any kind of backlash online. And this film is getting some of that, and it's gonna happen. It's inevitable, I think. But I think that studios and producers and filmmakers are slowly beginning to learn that, the people that are vocally upset online is a very small number of actual people in the world.
We've learned that from our own show, from the hate that we get.
It's the vocal minority. We all know that phrase, and it's very true. And our show is an example of, you'll post a clip and it'll get like 1 million views and 100,000 likes, but then there's like 2 bad comments, and in a lot of ways that can be those are the 2 comments that stand out the most to you because they're negative. And that's what happens nowadays, is a couple of bad tweets and a few TikTok videos, and it makes it seem like the issue is widespread, when in reality it's really a small number of people. So I think that studios are starting to get the hint that, we shouldn't cater to
Twitter.
We shouldn't make our movies based upon bad reactions of a very small, minute number of people. Let's just stick with what people like. And I thought it was pretty commendable to just try that kind of humor again. And when it was happening, I was like, oh man, they're actually going for it here.
Yeah. It was done well. It was done with a crappy person. He's a villain. So I think it was done effectively, and I think most people would really enjoy it. And commend the studios for taking risks with comedy, because you have to. That's comedy. It's just
want
part
to
of
make
it.
people laugh, yeah.
And that's just physics. That's biology. When you have that much sugar and calories, you're just gonna get a little.
It was really funny.
A little bigger, but it's just a slow reveal. It gets bigger, then bigger, then bigger.
The first reveal of it was great. It was so funny.
And of course, Willy Wonka, eventually we know, finds fortune and becomes the most successful chocolatier in the world with Wonka. However, he can't get there without some help. And when he's trapped in the laundromat at Scrub It and Bleachers, indentured servitude. Scrub. He's down in the basement, and he meets all these other people that have been duped by Scrub It and Bleacher to live down there and work off their debt. Willie has to work off 10,000 days. Hey, you're all right over there.
I got water in my windpipe.
He has to work off 10,000 days because he owes 10,000 sovereigns to them, because he didn't read the fine print, and they charge him for everything. Walking up the steps, it's a
Per step.
Fee. You warmed your feet by the fire. There's a fee for that. Everything. And so down in the basement, obviously he meets Noodle, who's an orphan. Noodle has been orphaned by, we find out later on, eventually, by Mr. Slugworth, one of the chocolatiers. And they are blood related. She is his niece.
So what made Slugworth great was he had 0 empathy points whatsoever. He ended up being more despicable by the end of the film than ever. And I love that. That's what made him so great. He was a vicious villain.
Down in the basement, he also meets several other characters, including Lottie Bell. We also have
Abacus Crunch,
who's like the accountant down there.
And then Bell, Telephone Bell.
Piper Benz. And also, who am I missing?
That's it.
That's everybody.
Yeah, that's 4.
And the 4 of them, 5 of them, 6 of them, they develop
7 of them,
8 of them. They sort of develop a little team. And Willy Wonka has these master plans to escape. He creates the engineering concoction to keep Tiddles the dog on a treadmill.
Tiddles wants to run, so he can run all day.
and then he comes back, and Abacus is like, productivity's up 30%. We even took the afternoon off. And so basically, they're creating diversions so that Wonka can go out and sell chocolate. And eventually his plan is to sell chocolate to pay off him and Noodle's debt. Eventually they all work together, where they try to pay off everyone's debt with the chocolate factory, the chocolate shop that they eventually open up. And obviously we talked about earlier, that ends in massive failure because the cartel poisoned all the chocolate. Everyone started growing hair. There's too much of the Yeti sweat inside of it, so they all start growing hair and colorful hair in different places, which is hysterical.
And I love the team, each one of them, their previous profession worked perfectly for a small business.
Yeah.
You have an accountant, you have a marketer for the telephones, and the other two as well. Like they all fit perfectly with different roles of a business.
And then eventually Willy gets an offer from the cartel, and the offer is they will pay off everybody's debt if Wonka leaves town, hops on this boat to the North Pole. I fucking love that. And he can never make chocolate again. This is after the failure of the shop and everything burns down.
Yeah.
And Willy's got nothing left. He lost all of his hope. And he also thought his mother would be by his side when he was sharing the chocolate with the world, but she wasn't there. And he's lost hope in that dream. And so he accepts the deal. And he gets everyone's debt paid off, except he doesn't realize that Noodle was duped again by Slugworth. Slugworth paid extra to scrub it and bleach her to keep her there indefinitely, forever. I love the sequence of learning of what Slugworth does with Noodle. Noodle, obviously, her father passed away, and her mother came to Slugworth, her brother-in-law, for help, because Noodle was a baby, an infant, and was sick.
And Slugworth thought he was the sole heir to his brother's fortune.
Exactly, and he wasn't, because Noodle was around. And so she brings Noodle to him, and that's not her name, obviously. And he's like, "Oh, I'll get her medicine. I'll take care of her." And then he dumps her down a laundry chute. It's terrible, but it's hilarious.
It was funny, yeah.
He's like, "Bye-bye, baby."
It's so ridiculous. It's funny because it's so absurd.
And so that's why Noodle has a 30-year indentured servitude contract at Scrub It and Bleacher that she'll never be freed of. And then, obviously, like I said, Slugworth pays triple to have her there even longer. But what Wonka comes back after...
I love how they try to blow him up.
Yeah, the Oompa-Loompa follows him everywhere he goes. And then they try to blow up the ship with just dynamite. And they survive, and Wonka comes back. And they get their great master plan to take down the cartel by sneaking into their underground safe and vault full of chocolate and getting it out of there, basically, but also getting the ledger that shows all the corruption in their numbers.
And Paul King, once again, nearly drowned his lead character at the end of the movie, just like in Paddington. I was like, oh my God, I can't take this. It's too much.
It's really great. And then the being saved by the Oompa-Loompa through the mirror is just sensational. And Oompa-Loompa has sort of this jetpack and this suit with wings, and he flies through and he takes everyone out. But I honestly just really love the sequences of going down to the secret chamber through the cleric's confession booth.
Yes, Father.
Father, yes. It's hysterical. And drowning in chocolate almost happens, which is amazing. I would love to be surrounded by that much chocolate, to be honest.
Yeah, it was all for real too. And they were like really in that chocolate pool.
I love chocolate so much. I was craving it intensely after seeing Wonka, and I got some, obviously, when I got home.
I ate all my IMAX chocolate the day before we went and saw Wonka, so when we got home, I had no chocolate to eat.
I saved a bar, and I'm glad I did, because I ate it when I got home from the movie.
It looked great. It looked so good.
And the most touching moment in the entire film, I think, is obviously when Wonka and the team, they actually worked to secretly discover Dorothy, who she is, where she is, who is Noodle's mom. And Wonka reunites Noodle with her mother, Dorothy, at the library. And it's really emotional. And they got the tears going for me.
And I was weeping because when Wonka saved the day and he got back in his Wonka outfit, and he's sitting on the steps, and he pulled out, we kept seeing him pull out the chocolate that his mom made him on the boat when he was a kid. And she inscribed it with the Wonka logo, basically. He's been saving it for the right moment. And he finally took a piece and gave it to each one of his new friends. And they all ate it together, but he saw his mom in the crowd smile at him, and I was crying like a baby.
Well, even more than that. So Wonka's goal, obviously, is to spread chocolate with the world so that he can be with his mother again, but also he wanted to learn the secret. We have the flashback when they grew up on that river on the boat, and she said, "I'll tell you the secret when you're older." But obviously she passed away eventually before he got to find out the secret. And I like the backstory on Wonka. It's sort of ambiguous. We can kind of create our own. We learn that he's discovered the world, obviously, with all these ingredients he has, but he's never learned the secret to the chocolate that his mother used to make. And then he opens up the candy bar that his mother hand drew Wonka on, and what's in there? The golden ticket.
Yeah.
And on the golden ticket, it says the secret to The chocolate is not the ingredients, not what you put inside of it, but it's who you share it with. And then he breaks up the chocolate bar into 6 pieces and shares it to everyone in the crew, basically. And then he sees his mother in the distance in the crowd. It's really emotional. It's making my hair stand up right now.
It was just as sweet as I was expecting from a Paul King movie.
It was very touching. Yeah. I think they really hit the emotional core really well with the
I wasn't
character.
expecting it.
Me too. Just connecting it to a mother in the past and a mother that's gone, but really love is the key of the story. Love is the key to the chocolate, and that's what it really is all about. And I just love the nod. I didn't see the golden ticket coming at all.
Yeah.
Came out of left field for me. And then when you watch the movie, it's kind of obvious. Obviously the origin of the golden ticket, it has to be in
And
this
it's
movie.
the purple wrapping, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I love that. It made me completely forget or analyze the fact that where's the golden ticket in this movie, and then it's originated with his mother. It's so sweet.
I really love the backstory of his mom. I thought it made sense for his obsession with chocolate and wanting to spread it amongst the world in a positive way. And then it's like to be it connected to his mother and his childhood makes a lot of sense.
And then the ending in this torn down castle. And then he's with the Oompa-Loompa, and he says, I need some help to make chocolate and have a factory. And the Oompa-Loompa's like, oh, and you'll be heading the tasting department. The tasting department? Oh, I'm actually pretty enticed. And they walk through the ruins of this castle. But then Willy's imagination and the great directing create the factory that will eventually be Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And it's sensational. And it looked like so much of it was practical. I was blown away. And because Jimmy's literally just dancing and walking along like this chocolate rainbow, these pipes everywhere. It was really sensational. I loved the ending. It was so warm and such a happy ending as well.
I loved the ending. It was a perfect conclusion to the film.
Do you have any favorite moments that we haven't brought up from the film?
Favorite moments? I loved when the bishop was giving the mass and he got a phone call from downstairs.
It was a funeral.
Yeah, funeral. Sorry, funeral. And he got the phone call, and he took the phone call. It was like a duchess's husband died.
Yeah, the Baron's husband.
Yeah, the Baron's husband.
Baron died.
I was like, the phone rang. He was like,
he's chatting. Yeah. Oh, everything's fine here. We had a giraffe in here, but it's all good.
I was dying. I was like, this is so funny.
I really loved the zoo sequence with the giraffe with Abigail.
The lion.
Yeah, and the lion too.
Yeah.
The tiger.
I mean, the tiger, yeah.
Tiger, but also with Abigail. I thought that was really sweet and funny.
Yeah.
And the CGI looked terrific for Abigail the giraffe. But
Yeah.
that was a funny sequence, milking the giraffe. But I loved when he said, when Noodle says, oh, all we need is milk. We have milk right here. He's like, that's stealing. And also, Willy Wonka doesn't just use any ordinary cow's milk. I use giraffe's milk. I was like, what?
It just makes sense for this movie.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
I also really loved Willy's briefcase. And
Yeah.
inside of his briefcase, not only does he have ingredients from all around the world, but magical ingredients like bottled up thunderstorms and lightning, but he has a chocolate factory in his briefcase. And I think it was a really touching moment when he shared chocolate for the first time with Noodle, who had never had chocolate before. And her immediate reaction was, I'm depressed now because I'll never get to have chocolate ever again. And I'll just always want chocolate more. Mm-hmm. But I love the briefcase. I love the engineering, the ingenuity, and the magic of Willy Wonka and how he wanted to be a magician when he was a kid, but he turned it into creating chocolate like his mother.
Mm-hmm. And I really like the musical numbers. They did a good job. And I love, like, you know, Willy's like in the barbershop doing the guy's hair, like things like that. That surrealist nature,
because they're sneaking
realism.
around the city and using the drain pipes and the
Yes.
sewers to try to bounce around in every
They're like
area
Ninja Turtles,
yeah.
basically. It's Ninja Turtle style. But the musical numbers were really good. They were very fun and entertaining, and the production design was great. The Scrub was a great first one.
Second one. The
Second
first one
one
was in the opening in the city.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think they did a great job, and especially, I mean, the musical number of Wonka's shop opening was really, I think, the highlight of the film.
Yeah, and then obviously homage to the original with the floating candy.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bubbles in the first one with was it root beer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think it's Suds root beer, Suds from root beer, Bubbles from root beer. But then obviously in this is the hover chocolate, the gravity chocolate.
The hover chalk.
Yeah.
The hover chalk.
Which is used multiple times. And then at the end, he's like, it's got a delayed effect and it's extra strong. They'll come down eventually.
I think so. We'll see.
I love the opening musical number where it's in the city and Wonka arrives there right before he starts selling his chocolate. And he's dancing, and the production's amazing because half the time it's pink and colorful, and there's dancers everywhere, and Wonka. But then it cuts to him just dancing by himself in the square, and he's just in his own mind. And the police officer's like, "What's this guy doing over there?" And it cuts to the number with the extras and dancers, and it comes back to Willy just in his imagination. So you get to like see and look inside Willy's imagination of what he sees in his world.
And I love the musical number when they started selling chocolate again. And it starts with him as a waiter at the French restaurant. So another waiter is like, he doesn't even work here. He's dancing on the table. It was really funny. It was really sweet. I think the musical numbers were great.
The music was terrific, and I really adored this movie. It was sensational. This is one that I'm really looking forward to seeing again on a rewatch. Yeah. Maybe probably not in theaters, but eventually when it gets out on streaming, I'm definitely going to rent it soon. But
I think it's a great holiday movie. It's perfect for December. It really
is. Would you call it a holiday movie?
I mean, I wouldn't. It's not a holiday movie, but it's a perfect movie to see during the holidays.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
perfect
families,
family picture.
Yeah. Because I mean, we were driving by a billboard of like Paw Patrol superheroes, and I'm like,
do kids really want that?
Wonka's a much better kids movie, I think.
Absolutely.
It's so much better.
It's delightful.
It's like actually,
charming.
It's about life and stuff.
Real.
It's not about like animals with superpowers.
Yeah.
I think it's just like we need more family movies like this and less family movies like that. You know what I mean? Like how Guillermo del Toro was talking about how animations become just nonstop flashback, like slapstick humor, and like too much, and it's too overblown, and it's not really telling stories. There are no stories being told really. They'll have like a sweet message probably, but like what's the story? It's just trying to make you laugh nonstop or just keep the kids entertained by being as crazy as possible. But for something like this, I think kids will definitely respond to this film.
There's a lot of lessons in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like his mother says, don't abandon your dreams. If you have a dream, go out and follow it. We have lessons of everybody is good at something, has a special talent. If you just work hard, you can work together. Family, love. Obviously, the lesson of the rich just get richer and greedy, and it's the rich versus the poor. That's always been in storytelling for the entirety of civilization. So,
but soon Willy will be the rich.
And it depends on what he does with that money. But I'm sure we'll have a new version of Willy Wonka where he'll be a lot more generous with his wealth. But
he is at the end of first one.
Yeah, well,
at the end of the original.
Well, he gives it to the kid. I guess you could say. Ready Player One ripped it off. I guess
gives it. Yeah, Ready Player One is definitely. Heavily influenced by Willy Wonka.
I always thought about Willy Wonka when I was reading that book and then seeing the movie. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like Willy Wonka. Yeah, sort of. But, you know, in terms of a prequel, remake, reinvention of the character, this is one of the better ones done in the last couple decades. It really is. And especially Gene Wilder's performance is so iconic. Johnny's is really good, whether you like that movie or not.
I've never been a fan of that movie at all.
But, you know, it's still memorable. It's still a Tim Burton movie. And Timmy, I think, really delivered. And I've always been impressed with Timmy and the challenging roles he does.
We all know you have been.
Talking seriously here, man. But taking on challenging projects, you know, it's intimidating to take on a role like this, I bet. And obviously, he has a background in musical theater, of course, and singing and dancing and rapping, little Timmy Tim. But, you know, like I said, this is a daunting role. And I think he really showed that he does have that potential to be the next big movie star, like the next Leonardo DiCaprio or something like that, because I think the appeal is there, and I think he has the talent, and this was just an awesome performance.
Yeah, I think this is a really big step for him in his career, because he's got Dune going for him, but I think doing this is just, it's really, really big for him.
His range is huge.
Yeah.
You can do comedy, you can do a musical, but then he can also be in a very serious, massive sci-fi blockbuster, musical blockbuster. He can be in independent films, so he's just stretching his talents, and I think showcasing everything he can do.
Stretching them like a nice taffy. I love taffy.
All right, you got anything else on Wonka?
I was so pleasantly surprised by this movie, and I couldn't recommend it enough. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and I stand by that.
All right, come with me. Leave those 5-star ratings on Spotify and Apple. Don't forget to subscribe.
Don't look at me when you sing. It's weird.
YouTube. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Also become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Take care, everybody.
See you next time.
This episode was executive produced by our chosen one patrons, Cody Moen, Andrew Hagan, Becca Keene, Benjamin Cook, Calvin Murphy Griggs, Nicholas Martin, Darian Singleton, Tyler McFly, Andrew Hagen. Our Chosen One patrons are our biggest supporters. Thank you so much. Raiders of the Lost podcast is a mirror image production. Sound mixing done by Jacob Kossler. Opening music by Chase Jackson.